My name is Dora Kanizsainaj. I've been serving with the Reformed Church since 2008, serving with refugees. I've been the director for the refugee ministry, and St. Kalunba was actually in my understanding, the place of birth for the refugee ministry. This always has been a congregation that was really actively seeking how they can be welcoming and loving refugees, how they can provide a new community for refugees regardless of religion. Just the togetherness and the welcoming was mattering, but they were also seeking how to be practically helping them to start their new life, and we had a beautiful partnership here. Over the last summer, we had to found a new organization with my colleagues. It's a non-profit, and because the ministry was paused previously, we created a new body which is able to continue the activities of these integration services that we provide for migrants and refugees. And over the last year, this new organization, Kalunba, was organizing the events in the church. And now we have a new community center, but we are still linked to the congregation.
What's this new organisation called?
Kalunba Nonprofit.
Oh, right. So you've taken the name.
The name sounds similar. It's not the exact same because Saint Kalunba's and Kalunba is, and the Kalunba is a mosaic from our names who were founding it, but we wanted to be sounding similar to show our connectedness.
Can you tell me what kind of things go on in this church for refugees?
So the congregation was always seeking how they can be church together with refugees, and we have a long tradition of creating community meals. So, for example, after Sunday service, we would have coffee and cake, but after we would cook together to have a lunch. The idea came just simply by some refugees coming from a big refugee camp on the northeast side of the country from Debrecen, and they would have to get up at 5 a.m. to come to church service at 11. So we wouldn't want them to go home being hungry. That was the basic idea of providing lunches. But then the congregation started to love this and see it as not just serving food, but a time that we can really share together and get to know each other. For a few years we had a pause because we got too tired, but last year when the crisis was really visible in Hungary, that there is a lack of organization in our refugee reception conditions. Refugees were getting really visible on the streets. The train stations were filling up with people waiting and thinking where to go, what to do, whom to listen to. We started to organize these community meals again, and because we wanted to have a better connectedness between the congregation and refugees who would come here during the week from Monday to Friday for language lessons, for aid, for social advice, for children playtime, for community events, for dances, for day camp, different things that we would organize here. But some refugees would come to the Sunday service, others wouldn't, and then restarting this tradition of serving food, always something else cooking it, sometimes an Iranian family cooking, sometimes a Transcarpathian Hungarian, sometimes an American. It's beautiful how it's always another nationality who gets to cook, but we get to share it together every time.
And so these refugees, what countries are they coming from, and are they actually taking part in Christian worship on Sundays?
So the recognized refugees who we work with are coming from the same countries where we see that, So the refugees that we are working together are recognized. They come from Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, Iran, Iraq, where the conflicts are the highest. And last year we didn't have financially and politically a safe place where we could provide a community center. So the church became our community center. Pastor Aaron invited us to use the facilities on the working days, and we filled up every space in the church. So most of the refugees we work with are Muslim. they don't mind coming into the church. The media is always saying, oh, Islam is overtaking Europe. We saw refugees, Muslim refugees, practicing Muslim refugees coming to this church every single day, happy to learn Hungarian, happy to meet Hungarians, and many times even realizing which building they are, asking things about Christianity, sometimes exploring the cultural differences. They start out of kindness, greeting us with grace and peace to you, because they want to show their efforts to learn about their new country. It's a very special congregation. It's because belonging to the Church of Scotland, I'm sure, because of the history with Jane Haining, the history of this school building, the history of Jewish-Christian togetherness, we don't have to explain why we do refugee ministry. Here, it's everyone understood. Aaron always says it's part of our DNA. It is. In any other places in Hungary, we would have to go really far in explaining why we believe that this is in the Bible, why we believe that this is a commandment that we have to do, why no matter who they are, if they come here and they will be living here, why would I turn away from serving? In this place, I don't have to do any explanations. It means tremendous weights taking off from our shoulders, and not just the understanding, which is the largest, really, the facility that we can use, the people that we can meet here. Congregation members are volunteering in English teaching and employment coaching. Then not just the practical solutions, but really focusing how the church service can be a place where people who maybe were not brought up Christian or were brought up in a very different Christian denominations, that they can feel not being aliens. They are invited in service, they are invited. We have a songbook from Church of Scotland that is international. We have hymns from all over the world. If you go to a Hungarian Reformed congregation, our songs are Hungarian and German, and very different and difficult for someone who comes from a different tradition.
I mean, how many people would you say use your facility on any given week? I mean, I'm assuming it's from families to older people who have had to flee their countries for whatever reason. And would you say that the Church of Scotland here is, through your work, helping to assimilate these people into Hungarian society? Therefore, you're doing a wider service to Hungarian society.
About 50, 60 people came regularly in a week to this building. Now we have a new community center since the beginning of the summer, but we are still here. And the ministry is clearly helping newcomers to have a new family and to learn practical things that they need for a new life. But it's clearly a ministry for the larger society. Because Hungary is not used to having foreigners. Being a foreigner here is quite difficult to overcome the cultural and language barriers. But this year we have a new problem with the political campaign. The atmosphere changed tremendously. And to be able to stand on the ground of this building, for me it gives such a stronger mandate that I can say, this is a church, and refugees, Muslim refugees come here every day. They don't have a problem with the cross. And please understand, let me explain what the asylum law is, and why we help them, why Hungary has to take refugees and they have to recognize them, and why recognized refugees have to be helped to learn the language, to have a new family, to have connectedness. It's a very strong ground that we can use to communicate to the wider society, and the atmosphere is not friendly now.